How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another exciting video. So in the last video, we kind of did a whole overview of ActiveCampaign and we set up an automation. So currently we have this automation in place. So we have where once a contact subscribes to the list free ebook list, then it's going to go ahead and trigger this whole automation. So this is where we kind of left off, and then here we have it send an email, initial ebook sign up email, and then here you can kind of click this and do some edits. So you can create a new email address, or you can edit the body of this email itself by clicking this edit, and then you can do all kinds of things from there. And then other things you can do is you can hit this plus, and then you can have it wait for a while. So you can have conditions and workflow, and then you can do wait. You can have it wait for an hour, a day, whatever you want. And then after that, so even just to show that, I can click this wait thing, and then we can wait for a specified period of time. And then let's say wait for 1 day or something. So I can basically implement that as part of the process. All right, then you see now this part's implemented, and then you can click this plus, and then let's say do send another email. So that's kind of where this whole automation process becomes so handy. You can immediately send an email, wait a day, send another email, wait another day, send another one, maybe wait 2 days after that. And then you can even have some automations where it's wait 120 days or something, and then send another email, so that you can entice someone to be a customer who comes back to your website or something. So that's very handy. And then kind of the last step once you implement this automation is you just click this active thing, and then that way it's actively running, and someone can actually start this whole process up. So let's go ahead and now see how we can implement the application itself. So currently I have VS Code open, I have this newsletter folder open, and let me go ahead and create a new folder, which I'm going to call backend, and here I'm going to have my Django backend. So let me go ahead and navigate into there. Let me also make this all a little bit bigger so you guys can see what I'm writing. So I'm going to navigate into my backend. I'm going to do Python 3-m, Python 3-m, and then venv and venv. And then with this, I can go ahead and set up a virtual environment, which is going to be basically inside of a folder called venv. All right, so that went ahead and finished up. So now inside of here, I have this venv folder. So I can go ahead and now activate my virtual environment. And also, by the way, as for the Python version I'm using, it is 3.7.3. So if you use this version or later, you should be just fine. So now let's go ahead and activate the virtual environment. So source venv bin activate. So now I see this venv thing. So now I have my virtual environment activated. So now the next step is to go ahead and install some packages. So I'm going to do pip install. I want Django. I want Django REST framework. And then I also want Django-cores-headers. That way I can make requests from my React frontend running on port 3000 to my Django backend running on port 8000. So these are all the packages that I need. So I'm going to go ahead, install those. And then while that's going on, I'm going to open up another terminal. And then I'm going to go ahead and also create my React project. So right now, I'm inside of this root sort of directory where I see this backend folder. So now I'm going to run the command npx create-react-app, and then the name of the app I'm going to call frontend. So to use npx, you basically need to have Node installed on your system. So basically just Google Node and then install that on your system, and then you can go ahead and do this. And then with npx, it's going to basically use the latest version of React for us when we go ahead and create this React project called frontend. So I'm going to click enter to that, and it's going to go ahead and start setting that up. So we should see a front-end folder show up here, and then that's going to go ahead and handle that. So that's inside of this terminal here. So now let me go back to my other terminal. So here we see that we finished installing all of this stuff. So let me clear things up. I'm going to open this up, and then let's go ahead and start creating our Django project. So in order to do this, I'm going to do Django-admin while inside of my virtual environment here, and then I'm going to do start project, and then the name of the project. So let's see, what's a good name? Maybe newsletter or something, or newsletter sign up. I don't know. I'll just keep it as newsletter, and then I'll put a dot to put it inside of the current directory. So I'm going to click enter to that, and then I should see on top of this venv, I should also see this newsletter Django project. So perfect, I see that there. And then I also see this manage.py. Then this manage.py is now something I can use to make other apps and stuff. And then I also see this front end folder. So let's check the status of that. And it's still kind of creating that, but we do see that this front end folder is now present. There's still more files being created. All right, so let me go back to my other terminal where I have this Django stuff, and let's create an app. So this app is basically going to be where I have my endpoint, which is going to be working with ActiveCampaign's API in order to do things like create a contact and add them to a list, add a tag, and then basically have them like go inside of the automation because we added them to a particular list. So that's what we're going to go ahead and create an endpoint for. So let's first of all create that app. So I'm going to do Python. And by the way, once I'm in my virtual environment, I can just use Python, and that's going to use version 3 because I used version 3 of Python to make this virtual environment. So with that little aside, let's do Python manage.py. And then I can run the command start app to create an app, and then I write the name of the app. So I'll just call this something like email marketing or something. I don't know. Doesn't matter. This is where I'm going to go ahead and store all of my email marketing sort of endpoints. So I think a name like this kind of makes sense. All right, so with that, now let's go ahead and start configuring some stuff. So I have a new app, so let's go inside of my newsletter settings and then start to kind of like adjust some of this stuff. So let me close this terminal for now with Control backtick, so that way I can see things a little more easily. So inside of my installed apps, I need to pass a few things. First of all, I need course headers. I need REST framework. And then I also need this app I just made, which is called email marketing. And then there's some other like REST framework settings that I need. So I kind of forget what they are. So I'm just going to go ahead and Google. So let me open up a new tab with Google and then find my Django REST framework documentation. Django REST framework. And then let's find some of these settings that I need. All right, so we put it inside of our installed apps. You can also have this URL pattern, but I don't need this. And then we also have this right here, which I'm going to go ahead and grab. I'm going to go back into my settings and find a place to paste this. So I'll do it right at the bottom. I'll paste this. And then this is going to have some default permissions, but I don't really want this permission here. I just want like an allow any permission. And then that's what I'm going to have by default for my views. You can also do like is authenticated and then stuff like that, but I'm just going to keep it like this. So that's the setting I need there. And then I also need some settings for course headers to have that working. So let me also now get out of this and find my Django course headers documentation. I'm going to click enter, and then let's go ahead and start setting that up. All right, so right here I have Django course headers. We also have the GitHub link. I'm going to click on that one because I think that one's a little better, the documentation on that. All right, so we have to bring it inside of our installed apps. We did that. Now we also have to bring it in our middleware. So I'm just going to copy this line where we have our course middleware, and we're going to place it above this common middleware. So let's find our middleware inside of our settings.py. Here it is, our middleware setting, and then let's find that common middleware. Here it is. So right above there, I'll go ahead and paste my course middleware. So we need that. And then we also need to add some kind of additional settings. So we have like the course allowed origins. So maybe I'll just like copy this one, go to the bottom of the settings file, paste that in there, and then let's remove these. And then instead of having this example.com, I'm going to have my local host. So I'm going to do localhost 8000. That's going to be my allowed origin. So that way I can have my React front end making, or sorry, not 8000, but 3000 I meant to put there. So this is going to be the origin that we expect to be allowed to make requests to my Django backend. All right, so with that, we're kind of like set up with this whole like settings.py. And then another thing that you can also do is, let's say like if you want to push this to production, then with React, you're going to do like an npm run build where you're going to have a build folder, and then you can pass that as a template along in here. And then a way you can do that is by using os.path.join base directory and then the build folder. So this is one thing you can pass in here. And then also with the latest version of Django, OS isn't imported inside of here by default, so you would also have to go to the top and do import OS. So that's one thing that you can also do. I'm going to leave this out right now just because I'm not going to like end up building this, but this is the way you would do it in production. So you would just have like Django expect to have that build folder as a template. So anyway, let me go ahead and save this, and let's start working on this email marketing. Let me open up this views. I'm going to delete this, and let's start implementing some logic for this endpoint. So first of all, I'm going to do from REST framework dot views. I want to import my API view, and then that way I can, and it's going to be like this, and then that way I can extend this functionality inside of my different class-based views. So I'm going to create my class-based view. I'll call this like, let's see, eBook signup view. So that way I have some kind of like logic where I have all of this ebook sign up. I'm going to make this a post request, pass in self, request, format equals none. And then this is going to expect to receive some kind of data. So I'm going to do data is equal to self.request.data. And then the data that I expect to get here is like a first name, which is going to come from data first name. I'm going to have an email, which is going to come from data email. And then I also need that like agree thing. It's going to come from data agree. So this is what I expect to receive. Next thing I want to do is convert this to be a Boolean value. So I'm going to do agree is equal to bool agree. And then basically during this process, something might go wrong. So this right here is going to receive this as a string essentially. So I'm going to wrap this in a try except. And then if something goes wrong, I'm going to return a response. So that's also something I need to import. So from REST framework.response, I'm going to import response. Let me also close up that side window. And then in here, I can pass a response. So I can do something like error cannot, or I guess must agree to privacy policy and terms of service, let's say, something like that. And then you can also pass in status codes. So I also have to import that. So from REST framework, I can import status, and then that way I can pass status codes like, let's say, HTTP 400 bad request or something. And then the next thing I want to check is this true? Did they actually agree? So if not agree, then I'm going to return an error response, which is essentially going to be the same as this. So this is, in essence, how I can have this endpoint handle like whether they agreed or not, and then we can utilize the first name and email to do the stuff with ActiveCampaign. So I'm going to leave this as this for now. Actually, let me just add like another like response. This will be some kind of like success response where it's like contact added to email list or something, or maybe like free ebook email list, something like that. And then you can pass like status code as well. So status is status.http 200 okay. So we can have something like this for now. So we're going to edit this more and actually make use of like the ActiveCampaign API. So let's see. Next step, let's make a URL for this. So I'm going to do a urls.py inside of my email marketing app, and then I'm going to import path. So from Django.urls import path. And then let's do our URL patterns, which is going to be a list where we have our path. And we're going to go ahead and make use of that view. So for my .views, I'm going to import my ebook signup view, pass that inside of here, ebook signup view, do a .as view since we're dealing with a class-based view. And then let's go ahead and now work on this path. So inside of my newsletter Django project, going to open up my URLs. Let me get rid of these comments. And then I'm going to need another import here, which is going to be include. And then above this, I'm going to make another path, which is going to be API slash maybe email signup or something, email signup, and then slash. And then we're going to go ahead and pass this along. So I'm going to do an include. And then inside of here in a string, I'm going to do email marketing because that's the name of this app. So email marketing dot URLs. So that way I make use of this URLs file. And then also need a comma here. And then basically we're going to have something like API slash email signup slash whatever we put inside of here. So maybe like ebook signup. I don't know. Doesn't matter. So this is what the endpoint I'm going to basically implement. So it's going to be a post request to the endpoint API, or I guess in particular localhost 8000 slash API slash email dash signup slash ebook dash signup. So if we hit that endpoint with a post request, then that's going to go ahead and utilize this view here, and then in particular this method in this view, and then it's going to go ahead and do this logic for us. All right, so I'm going to leave it at this for now, and let's kind of configure a little bit of our front end as well, just so we have that in place as well. So our front end should be all wrapped up. So let's go ahead and start working on that. So in particular, I'm going to start off by removing a bunch of the stuff that we don't need. So I'm going to remove everything except for the index.js, and then this app.js we need, but I'm just going to like recreate it just because it has a bunch of stuff in there. So let's move all that to the trash. Let me close up this backend stuff just so we can focus a little bit on the front end. All right, so this index.js I'm going to open up, and then I'm also going to create that app.js. Add some boilerplates, so import React from React, and then const app, and I'm going to return some JSX, which is going to be a div. That's going to say app for now. Export default app. And then let's go into our index.js and adjust this. I don't need this report vitals thing. I don't need this import. I don't need this index CSS. I only need whatever's right here. So that's going to be my index.js. So now if I go ahead and run things, so right now I'm inside, or I'm not inside of my front end folder, so let me navigate inside of there just to make this more clear. So I have my back end, excuse me, I have my back end front end. So let's go into my front end. So now I'm inside of here, and then I can do an npm run start, and then that's going to start up my front end. So I should see that open up in my browser on localhost 3000. Then I can also close this up. I don't need it. All right, and here we are. The front end is now running, so I just see the text app for now because that's all my app component is returning. And essentially, I'm gonna like create this entire like sign up form and everything just inside of this app because this is like a very simple application and that's the only thing that's present. So I'm not gonna bother with creating some kind of like intricate like file structure with like different pages. Like essentially, I'm just gonna be returning this newsletter sign up thing. So all of my logic's just gonna be inside of the app.js. All right, so anyway, to make this all a little bit easier, and so I don't have to make like my own custom styling, I'm just gonna import Bootstrap into here. So let me go ahead and open up a new Google tab and then search for the Bootstrap documentation. So Bootstrap, and let's find a nice CDN that we can go ahead and utilize. So I'm gonna click on this getbootstrap.com and let's find ourselves a CDN because Bootstrap's gonna make this a lot easier for us. So here we are. We have this whole like JS deliver part, and then we can go ahead, copy this CSS only import for Bootstrap. This is using Bootstrap 5.0 beta, so I'm just going to use that. I'm going to open up my public index.html and then just import that, say above the title. And let's fix up this indenting so it looks a little bit cleaner. So I'm going to have everything on separate lines. All right, so now we have Bootstrap inside of here. So that should apply the Bootstrap styling. And there we go. You can see that it even changed this up a little bit. So that's nice. So now let's go ahead and implement some kind of like logic to have a form in here. So that's going to be the last step in this video. And then the next video, we're going to see how to actually like communicate with ActiveCampaign and do like all of this logic. So let me go ahead and bring in useState because that's going to be quite handy for accomplishing all of this. And then let's go ahead and implement some logic for some form data. So I'm going to have const form data, set form data, which is going to be useState. And then I'm going to need the first name. I'm going to need the email. And I'm also going to need that agree thing, which by default is going to be, it's going to be false. Let's go ahead and destructure these things. So the first name, email, agree is all being destructured from my form data. I'm going to implement an onChange, which is going to take an event as a parameter. And then from there, we're going to do set form data. And then inside of here, I'm going to do a spread operator on form data. And then the thing I'm adjusting is e.target.name, which is going to be set to e.target.value. So then this way, basically whenever we have like one of these input fields, we're going to be just adjusting one of these pieces of data inside of our form data. So that's why we have the spread operator. And then basically e.target.name is going to be one of these values, depends on which input field we're using. And that's going to be set to the value, so whatever we type inside of there. So now the next step is I'm going to have some kind of onSubmit function. Just going to take an event. And then with that event, we can go ahead and implement some logic. So I'm going to do e.preventDefault first of all. This way we prevent the default behavior of refreshing the page when we submit our form. And then we're going to have some logic where we're going to make an API request. So in order to make an API request, we need Axios. So that's one thing I'm going to have to import. Also, I have to make sure that I have const in front of here. And then save that. So that's what that error was. And then let me go ahead, stop running my front end, do an npm install save Axios. That way I have a way to make API requests, since I like to use Axios instead of the fetch API. So that's why I'm bringing that in. And let's go ahead and continue on in here. So next step is maybe some kind of header would make sense. So in my case, I have that whole like get free ebook thing. So I can do like sign up to our email list to receive your free ebook. Something like that, doesn't matter. And then below that, I can have my form. And then the form, it's gonna have that onSubmit, where we pass the event onto our onSubmit function. Then that's going to go ahead and deal with this whole process. And then I'm going to have my different form groups. So I'm going to do div with a class name of form-group. And then in here, I'm going to have some kind of label. So class name will be form label. And then the first label is going to be first name. And I'm going to have my input. And then the input's going to have a class name of form control, since that's the Bootstrap class for styling these. And then I'm going to need the type, which is going to be text. Going to need name, which is going to be first name. And then I'll need the onChange. So I'll pass the event along to the onChange function. Going to have the value, which is going to be the first name. So that's something that we destructured, so I have access to it. And then I'm also going to set this to be required. That way we have to basically be required to input this in order to submit the form. And we also need a button, of course. So I'm also going to have a button. I'm going to style it. So class name, I'll have button, button success to make it a green button. I can also do button large to make it large. And then from there I can have something like give me my free ebook. So that can be like the text of the button. And then let's also like have some nice spacing on things. So maybe on this header, I can have a class name of margin bottom -5, just to have some spacing between the header and the form itself. And then this button can also have some margin at the top. So I'll do like margin top -3. So let's see how things look so far. So I'm gonna, oh yeah, I'm not running my front end, of course. So let me go ahead and check the status of this whole thing. So it looks like I'm still installing Axios. All right, so I guess while that's going on, let's go ahead and keep working on this. So let me copy this form group. I'm gonna copy below here so that I can work on the email field. So this is gonna have a label of email. Type is gonna be email. Name is gonna be email. And value is gonna be email. And then maybe like a handy thing I can also do is just have like a console.log above here, just to kind of keep track of like, are these things working with our like inputs. So I'm going to go ahead and console.log the first name, console.log the email, just to kind of rest assured all of this is working. And then the last thing that we need is also that like agree button. So in this case, that's going to be a type of checkbox. And then the label I'm going to place below here. And then this is going to be my agree, and then here we're going to go ahead and add some stuff. So for the label, I can say like I agree to receive, or I guess I agree to the privacy policy and terms of service. So I'll just put this right here. You can make it a little better than that. And then let's also add some spacing between these things. So the first name I'm going to put margin bottom 3. And then on this one, I'm also going to do margin bottom 3. And also I did this on the input. I meant to do this on the form group. So margin bottom 3. And then on this form group, margin bottom 3. And then, let's see. So I have the margin top on the button, so I don't have to add it to this, but maybe just to stay like consistent, I'll remove it from here and then just put margin bottom 3 on here. And then this right here is going to be form check, I believe. Let me double check this. So inside of the Bootstrap documentation, or let me go into Google and then just search up Bootstrap checkbox, just because I forget the exact styling for the checkbox. So let me just double check that. And then, yeah, so we have form check input, form check label. So form check input, and then form check label. That's going to go ahead and do the styling with that. So let me save and see where we're at. So my front end, oh yeah, I have to run it, of course. Looks like this is still installing. Wow, this is taking a very long time for some reason. All right, there we are. So that finished. So let me do an npm run start. And let's take a look at our front end. So it's probably not going to look very nice, so we're going to do some adjustments to it. So let's see where we're at so far. All right, and here's our application. So not looking the nicest, so let's go ahead and kind of adjust this a little bit. So let me adjust that header a bit. Maybe let's add a class of display-4. That's going to do some styling to that. And then also inside of this div, let's do some styling. So let me pass a class name. And then in here, I can have margin top 5. And then let's have flexbox so that we can have everything in the center. So for Bootstrap, you can do d-flex. And then justify content center I want, and align items center. So let's see how that looks. All right, so a little bit of an issue. So let's make this go in a column instead of a row. So I'm going to do flex column, I believe. So yeah, now things look good. So sign up to our email list to receive your free ebook. So now we have this nice looking form. And then the only last thing to kind of adjust is this right here. So I want a little bit of spacing. So the way I'm going to accomplish that is by just putting like an inline style. That way I overwrite anything inside of Bootstrap so I can apply that margin. So I can either apply that to the label or to the input. I'll maybe do it to the label. Doesn't matter where you put it. So I'll put my inline style. And then I'll do a class of margin left. And then for that, I'll do something like 6 pixels. I think that'll probably look pretty good. So let's take a look. And yeah, that looks pretty solid. And then also just one last thing to kind of check is I had these console logs. So let's just double check that these forms are in fact working. And then actually, let me also add another thing here for the agree, just to make sure that this is also showing up. And let me go back and then open up that side console. And then let's take a look at this. So right now I see false here. So if I do something like John, now I see John, this input's empty, and I see false. If I agree, I see this here. And then for whatever reason, this isn't working as expected. Let's see why that is. So this is a type of checkbox. What I need to do is have an HTML4. So let me go ahead and put this kind of stuff on separate lines just so it looks a little cleaner. And then let's go ahead and do an HTML4. And then I'm going to go ahead and pass in agree. All right, so now let's go ahead and see how we can get this thing to work, this whole checkbox, because currently it's not working as expected. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the top. I'm going to take out this agree from our form data, and I'm also going to take it away from here. I'm going to put a separate state, which I'm going to call agree. I'm going to have set agree, which is going to be use state, and by default, it'll be false. And then I'm also, instead of an on change, I'm going to have some kind of like on checked, where I'm going to have an event, which I'm going to pass to my set agree. And then I'm going to set this to be e.target.checked. So that's essentially how I'm going to be adjusting this agree value. So let's go back down now to that checkbox. And then instead of value, I'm going to have checked. And then this on change is going to go ahead and trigger my on checked function I just made. And I have to spell it right. So there we are. So now let's go ahead and test out if this is working as expected. So back inside of here, let me just refresh. And then I'm going to click this agree. And there we are. Now we see that it's adjusted to be true. So that's essentially the way that you handle this. And then I can put in, say, like John. I can put in some email, so John Doe. And there we are. So everything's working. So now this is our latest state where we have John, we have the email, and we have this as true. And if it wasn't checked and I tried to do this, I would have to check it. So there we are. So now we have this whole entire form working as expected. So now I can just go ahead and get rid of those console logs now that we know that this is working. And then we can go ahead and put this video to a wrap. So that's going to be everything. In the next video, we're going to see how to implement this API request and work with the ActiveCampaign API. But anyway, that's going to be everything for this video. So hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this kind of content. Also hit that notification bell if you want to receive notifications whenever a new video comes out. And then also hit those links in the description. So if you want to like the Facebook page or join the Facebook group, you can basically do that. So you can reach out to me personally if you have some kind of general question on web development, mobile app development, or a question on some kind of tutorial that I've created. And then you can reach out to me personally and I can help you out. So anyway, that's going to be everything for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next.